your children, you lived with an older sister, stepsister, or half-sister, I should say, who was your father's biological daughter, and you lived with your little brother, Sam. You were about 7 years old. Is that right?
I was.
Okay. And then your father, believed that the happy family would get back together, but your mother did something that would change that irrevocably forever, and she left to get married.
She did.
She was doing that. Yeah, and while she was doing that, what happened?
Well, she'd taken off basically to go get married, which we didn't even know she was going to do. We came home from school, and there was a note saying, we'll be back after the weekend. Your father's going to come get you. He showed up, instead of being, hey, it's Dad, he barged his way into the home and was screaming at us to grab our belongings. And, of course, I'm trying to get toys. He's like, no, just get your clothes. It's the important things. And then barking out, where's your brother? He's next door, babysitter. He basically breaks into her home. He's dragging my brother in one arm and the babysitter in the other arm, while slugging her to get himself free of the babysitter. And basically he'd gone from the sweet, gentle giant of a man that I always describe as a product of the 60s to a very mean person that I didn't recognize.
Now, the question I didn't ask before, and I'd like to ask you now, is did the babysitter get on the phone right away to the police?
She did. She got on the phone to the police, and she notified my grandmother. Interesting enough was what I found out just a few years ago was the police, of course, told my mother and told my grandmother, because they, of course, came right back, was, well, it's the father. It's not a criminal issue. Take it to civil court. Although, at that time, there was a child stealing law on the California books. It just wasn't really enforced until our case.
Okay. So you weren't gone for 24 hours. Nobody was thinking anything bad or wrong, and so off you went without a trail. And you went into hiding. Basically, the family went into hiding. You ended up in Globe, Arizona, I think, and you moved a couple times from then. Every time people got close to you, your name changed, your family changed, people around you changed, and so the little boy that you were was becoming disturbingly different. You started to live inside yourself a little bit more, and you were living a double life, weren't you?
Yes, I was. One day you're Kenny Dale Connelly. The next day you're Kenny Womack. You're Dale Connelly. You're whatever your name happens to be.
You're older.
Yeah, you're no longer. I was turning 8 about 2 months before I was abducted, and instead of turning 8, I was turning 9. And then when we got to Odessa, well, now I'm turning 9 again. It was something that was continually changing, and literally once you got close and you started to realize things aren't ever going to get any better. This is the best it's ever going to be. I might as well adapt. And you started to kind of reach out to people. Boom, next thing you know, the police are on the way, and they're not coming to get you. They're evil people coming to take your father away and throw him basically, in jail. And the fear always was, which we always told, and my dad always made this very clear, was if I go to jail, I'm going to hurt. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill your mom. I'm going to kill your grandparents, which was always odd because one day she's dead, the next day she's not.
Right.
But there was that fear, and just the fear of being, yeah.
Yeah, he's always talking about God, and God's on his side, and if you do something bad, you're going to go to hell, and he made a very scary world for you.
Well, he did it. It was something that I lived in a world where literally, if you were evil, if you didn't go with your father and so forth, you were evil, and you were going to go to hell, and it was always preached to you that that he's right, and it was never. I learned years later that actually it was my mother's sister who had contacted my dad and told him what was going to happen. She was going to be married. My father had a different story. Was God came to him and told him, I guess a ball of light, whatever, that come take your children away. She's getting remarried, and the thing about that was she was never at that point anymore the woman he was going to remarry because God said she was great and wonderful. It was the woman that was a witch, a whore, and a Satanist, and he was always just completely evil, and he was always the person on the right hand of God. And at that age, this person feeds you, clothes you, and pretty much, although they're in some ways emotionally, mentally, they're smacking you, they're telling you they love you at the exact same time.
Right. And so the indoctrination lasted, how long do you think until you kind of forgot Mommy, forgot